Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area at 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Small hollow in North Carolina. There have been several Bigfoot sightings.
Hunters may need to be on the lookout for something other than deer when they hit the woods this week.
He hadn't been spotted recently, but according to these pictures, the legendary Mothman is back.
The number of UFO sightings is soaring tenfold over the past 25 years.
Now, she's not talking about people. She is talking about ghosts hanging around what some say is a real-life haunted house.
You're listening to Paratalk Radio with Ted Wolf and Psychic Cindy on ParaTalkRadio.com, a member of the WLFE digital broadcast family. Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and is intended for listeners over 16. The topics, views, and opinions expressed on our show may not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Paratalk Radio, our hosts, or our sponsors. Now, live from J-Wolf Production Studio in Ontario, New York, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
Hi, everybody!
I don't think I'm frozen anymore, am I?
I don't think so. I was
Yay!
You look good, my friend.
Awesome.
Thought I was going to be solo dolo for a minute there.
Oh, that's okay. So, today has been so weird. It's just been a weird day altogether. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so how's your day been? Been pretty good?
I haven't been super tired today. I am still super tired. So that's the weird part. Jansen was going to go out and play football with his buddies outside. And it's freaking freezing out there. It was snowing earlier. So the ground is wet. It's freezing out. And I'm just like, I really would prefer if you didn't go. But, he wants to. He's 17 and a half and, he's got his own mind and whatever. And so he leaves and I start falling asleep. Well, all of a sudden I have this vision of Jansen laying on the cold ground. His friends aren't helping him. He's not moving. And then I'm like, oh my God, do I just go up there? What do I do? So then I wait. I was terrified, to be honest, Teddy. I thought something was really bad going to happen to Jansen.
Wow.
Then Jansen calls me. It was such a short time. It was maybe 10, 15 minutes. Jansen, do you think it was only 10 minutes? It was less than a half an hour. I'm pretty certain of it. But all of a sudden, he calls me up and he's screaming at his friends in the background and he's saying, come pick me up. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, I'll be right there. Yeah. So can I say hi to everybody?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Michelle Millians. Hi, Robert. Hello, Barry. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, James.
Edna.
Hi, Edna.
We haven't talked to her in a while.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, our condolences, man. Our condolences.
Did she pass?
Yeah, she did pass. Yep.
Oh, Tom, I'm so sorry, honey.
No Teddy ice blocks. Nice.
No Teddy ice blocks? What does that mean?
Because it's cold. So.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
it's
guys,
true.
it is. But here's the thing: is for us starting Wednesday night and Thursday, we're supposed to get.
God, Barry! Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Barry, his last comment.
I had some bad news for me. My mom passed away this morning at Huntington Living Center. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
Barry, I'm so
Tom
sorry.
lost his grandmother too. God, we're so sorry, guys, for your loss.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
Well, I was going to say real quick that from Wednesday night into Thursday night, we're supposed to expect between 8 and 16 inches of snow.
What?
Yeah.
You know I don't watch TV, so you have to tell me this stuff.
Yeah, I just did.
Yeah, you did.
All right. Well, I want to say here real quick because we have a really cool guest tonight. He has got a lot of things under his belt, and I can't wait to interview him. His name is Mike Beaver. He is, well, let me just read this off. I normally do anyways.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Once a hypnotherapist, Charles Michael Beaver, who goes by the name Mike, has worked with one abductee used as a breeder for one of the gray races and has assisted one client to remove a dark spirit attachment.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's also an information technology engineer, which is with over 41 years experience, which is amazing. His clients include the CIA, the FBI, the Defense Secret Services, the Library of Congress, the Treasury Department, NATO, the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, Microsoft, Shell, Amoco, and the list goes on and on here.
Amoco?
Yep. And at the world's largest training center of any kind, he, with help of a vendor, almost single-handedly stopped a congressional investigation. Wow.
Wait, say that again? What was that last part?
At the world's largest training center,
yeah,
he, with a help of a vendor, almost single-handedly stopped a congressional investigation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Let's see what else he's also been a stuntman, martial artist, and a videographer. He's an amateur ufologist for about 38 years. He says amateur for 38 years. What am I with paranormal? 36 years. Woo!
That's right. You say there's no experts.
Yeah, I know. He attended UFO-related meetings with some notable ufologists such as Daryl Sims, which is from Hufan, Peter Davenport, sorry, Walt Andreas from MUFON, and others. He has been an occasional contactee since his first close encounter on October 3rd, 1980. Wow, that's a while ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But that may be a good thing, too.
Since his first close encounter, he has been working on a book primarily centered around his many paranormal experiences and sessions that he's had with his hypnotherapy clients, and is presently looking for a literary agent to help him with the publication of his book. Very cool.
Nice.
Very, very cool. Well, I don't know about you guys, but he's got a lot that we could talk about here, so I don't want to waste any time. So guys, don't forget to put your questions in the chat room. We will definitely get to them as soon as possible.
You got to see what Barry just wrote.
So I'm here tonight.
I wish I could press my button so I could highlight too.
Yeah, it says, but I'm here tonight along with Tom Naylor. Mom has always mentioned to me while she was at the nursing home is to make sure you go out and love and enjoy the things you like to do. So I am with you folks tonight. Well, Barry, you know your family. We welcome you here. Barry. And Tom is the same way. So, all right. So let's get into this. I want to introduce
Cindy. What does that mean? Oh, my drink.
Yeah.
No, I just drink them from this.
And hello, Mr. James Schruel, too. I see you hiding in there.
Yes,
all right, guys, Let's get to Mike Beaver. Everybody say hello to Mike.
Hi,
Hello,
Mike.
How are you, Mike?
There you go. Now we should be able to talk to you.
Can you hear us, or you're still having problems? Can you see us?
Hi, Mike. I'm going to check the private chat.
So you can see
Oh.
my
Oh.
That sounds like bad connection.
Can you hear my audio?
Maybe it caught up.
Okay, so we can hear you a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Oh my gosh, it sounds like a ghost is in the house.
Yeah, it's a weak connection for there, I guess. That's wild. The only
is he on his cell phone? Are you on your?
No, he's on a computer. He's on a computer.
Oh.
The only thing that I can think of is because of the bandwidth that he's using is maybe he should go out and then come back in, but use a avatar like we had what's his name use that one time instead of using his video, so it cuts it down so we can at least talk with him.
Yeah, that's true too. Also, I was going to say if he plugs in an Ethernet cord.
So I can't see your audio, your video at all.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely working here between me and Cindy. We can actually see you.
We can see you.
Because the bandwidth is all.
Oh, he types pretty fast. We heard that.
Yeah, he does. I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yes, Barry, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, if you have to, you can go out, like I said, and then when you come back in, instead of using the video, just put an emoji up there or a avatar, or just come in, without the video. Just come in vocally, and we can at least talk with you, and I can put a picture up.
I got your video and I got your audio.
Yeah, you're just really slow motion for us. I see his lips moving. He's saying something, but we can't hear him.
I know. I can't.
We can just get my audio.
Yeah. Giving us a little bit of a hard time today for him.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to send him a message in the private.
Yeah,
private
that's
chat.
You got my audio as well as my video?
Well, see, that sounded good, but
That
then
was
he's still
sounding
frozen.
great.
Yeah, so I would just try the audio only.
Psychic Cindy, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you a little bit, honey, but it's not like flowing. It's like chopping you up and it sounds mechanical sometimes.
There we go. Let's see. Does
There we
that work
go.
better?
Can we hear you, Mike? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Mike?
Can you hear me, Cindy?
We just heard you for a second. You're kind of choppy still. Do you have an Ethernet cord,
I can hear
Mike?
you a little.
Oh, you can hear me a little. Huh. Technical difficulties. It gets the best of us, right? It's usually me that it's happening to, though.
You had this problem with StreamYard before?
No.
Nope. It could just be your internet provider at the moment. It's usually based on our internet providers. Well, there have been issues with StreamYard before, but it would affect all of us, I feel.
Yeah, it wouldn't be just, one of us. It would be all of us.
Right. So what's been going on, Teddy? What's on with you? How is everything at home?
Things don't change there.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the whole transition we were trying to do with Cutting Edge, and now that's down because Cutting Edge and Roku are having, they just couldn't figure out a compromise between the two of them to where they were happy for the most part.
Oh, and I didn't understand what had happened. I just knew you had said that it was not. They were choosing to not go through with the Roku because, Rob was not going to do it because he had so much other stuff on his plate.
Yeah, that, and there was just some issues, with Roku and what they wanted. Just that whole. There was some issues, but so right now, and it had nothing to do with WLFE to Cutting Edge. We were fine.
Yeah.
It had to do with Cutting Edge and Roku.
Got it.
Turn off your audio and see if we can hear each other. Or turn off your video and see if we can hear each other without any cameras on.
Oh, it wouldn't affect our cameras. I think it would just affect you with your cameras, maybe.
Yeah, because our internet. I mean, this is a web-based thing. That's we're on our own, so it shouldn't affect that unless we're running videos or something. So.
He's not using. Oh no, he's not using a cell phone because it would be shorter than that. The picture would be smaller. Mike? Do you have a cell phone that maybe you could use?
Well, as long as it's a smartphone.
Right. It has to be a smartphone.
Yeah. But anyways, I've been redoing all the commercials and stuff so that we can, that's what I've been working on.
Got it. Yeah. So I am I supposed to have one that has everybody's something up that has everybody's?
There's a new one. There's a new one coming tonight. It'll be in a Dropbox for you to download.
I just can't keep up with all of it.
Or you and I can get on StreamYard after this
Yep, that's what we'll be doing.
Yep, you can let me in, and you let me in. I'll knock, 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 and you can let me in. And,
knock, knock, knocking on Cindy's door.
Yeah, and I'll get in there. I'll sign in on your StreamYard with you, and then I'll upload and do all that stuff for you later tonight. Not a problem.
Okay.
So, well, as soon as we can get Mike figured out, I wanted to say that we had a great time with Step into the Paranormal yesterday.
Yes!
You and I were both on
Yes!
Dave and Ernie's show with Step into the Paranormal. That was a lot of fun, and seeing all the other WLFE family jumping in as well.
Yes, it really was nice. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was cool.
So I have to show you this.
What are you showing me?
See, it's got a hood.
Oh no.
And it's super big and comfy. And it's got a big pocket. And it's called the Comfy.
Nice.
It is so... I'm putting it on. I'm putting it on. It's like wearing a blanket.
That's cool.
Look this is the inside of it. It's literally a blanket. It's like a throw.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored.
I think rebooting my system may have cleared it up.
Yeah, it looks good. Cool. There. We finally got Mike back. It looks good.
All right.
Hi, Mike. There you are. There we go.
Maybe it was me all along.
Were you able to hook up to your Ethernet or something?
I just rebooted my system.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. You look good. You sound good.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, look at this Comfy. It's huge though. I don't know if you can see.
You can get two of you in there, Cindy.
I definitely. Look at it's huge.
I guess so. All right. So
I guess we're ready to get started, huh?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, if you're ready, we're ready.
Look at how big this thing is.
That's huge.
Okay, so how do you start this?
Well, pretty easy. I'm going to ask you some questions, basically, between me and Cindy, and we'll roll as we go. Roll with it, and it'll be fun. It'll be painless. I promise. So you're a hypnotherapist.
I used to be a long time ago.
Nice.
That's what Cindy is too. I do
hypnotherapy too.
I helped one lady. I had one lady who had been used by the Greys to breed about 55 offspring.
Wow.
And I worked with her for 4 sessions, 2 for back pain, obesity, and 2 for 3 or 4 for her alien issues. And I also worked with a guy who had an attaching spirit that I successfully helped him remove. And I've tried about 5 or 6 of those, and only one of them worked.
So the taking people down into, now I guess I should back up because I'm not sure how this works. I've never been hypnotized. So
close your eyes, Teddy.
No.
Just do it.
Nope.
Just do it. Just do it. Just
Nope.
trust me. I'm not going to do anything to you. Just close your eyes.
No, because that whole motorboat thing will happen.
How am I going to let you motorboat me when you're in Avon
I know.
or thereabouts? Okay, close your eyes. Just
There
close
you
your eyes,
go.
Teddy.
She just wants. No, I'm not doing it.
Just do it.
No. I
Because
want
my
to ask a
point
question.
is it is. When you close your eyes, that's all it is. You're hypnotized.
Well,
You just are going into more deeper relaxation, and you just don't give a
well, my question is like when you go to bring somebody down, I mean, on TV, you see stuff like people dangling things to kind of put you in hypnosis and stuff like that. But you get real relaxed, I'm guessing. And then how does this work? You guys are bringing back people that a part of their life that they can't remember or that they blocked somehow. Is that how that works, Mike?
It all depends on the person. I mean, every person, what they wish to achieve in the session is totally unique to every individual. it's a different thing with every session. So I once ran into a lady who outside her office, it said hypnotist, but she was actually like a psychiatrist who was using hypnosis, and that's kind of common. The three pillars, you got psychiatry, psychology, and hypnosis, and they kind of overlap each other. And there's psychologists who do hypnotherapy and hypnotists who do talk therapy. And have you guys ever heard of Shakuntala Modi?
Of who? I'm sorry.
Her name is Shakuntala Modi.
No, I haven't heard.
I haven't either.
She wrote a book called Remarkable Healings. It's a conversation between her and the attaching spirits that her clients had. So she was all about demons, and attaching spirits is what I tend to talk about. And
what was the name of the book again? Remarkable what?
Remarkable Healings.
Oh.
So I had a client come to me one time who he had read a book. He was into making changes in the world like a witch would do, but he made the mistake of reading a particular book, and he said every single person, he wouldn't tell me the name of the book because he didn't want me to read it, but he said every single person who ever read the book had all killed themselves. Oh. And so he said after he read this book, he couldn't come out of he got stuck in a very negative mind state, and he couldn't get out of it. And so he had come across Shakuntala Modi's book, and he'd also found my business card stuck up on a board somewhere. And so he asked me to read her book and then use her technique on him. And I read like a quarter of her book, and then he couldn't wait to have a session. So we had a session. And in the first session, my apartment lighting was very low, and I was sitting on his right, and it was not successful. But after he came out, I mean, it was successful in the sense that he went into a trance and all that, but he didn't get healing or anything. So after it was all done, he came out and he said the left side of his face was doing all kinds of contortions, but I couldn't see the left side of his face. I could only see the right side of his face.
That's weird.
And so anyway, I read some more of her book, and he came back for a second session. And in the second session, he saw in his mind's eye like a blob that was morphing, moving around. And then he saw a Venus flytrap, you know, the plant that eats animal or
eats the flies.
He said the Venus flytrap came and like basically ate the blob and then disappeared. And then after that, it was gone. His attaching spirit was no longer connected to him. And he called me weeks later or a month or two later, and he was actually using her technique on other people. And I'd never actually used her technique, but he said it was working for him. He was using it. He would go to church, and without telling the preacher, he would have some kind of intuition about who he should talk to, and he'd pull that person aside, and he would tell them privately that he needed to work with him. And without anybody telling the pastor, they would come to him, and he would work with them and get success. And he said if the pastor ever found out, he'd get kicked out of the church. And
wow.
So he was like moving around from church to church and helping people. And the pastors usually didn't like that sort of thing, because they didn't, they're kind of losing control of their flock when people are getting, healing. Pastors are not always what they pretend to be.
Right.
Anyway.
Robbie, we know that from history.
Wow. You're echoing like crazy.
Me?
Yeah, it's not me. I put my headphones in. Yeah, I think it's yours, Mike.
I think it's Mike's, yeah.
Do
you have any earbuds by any chance?
I have this. Hold on a second.
So I started a watch party over on my Facebook.
Let me change my audio real quick. I've got a set of headphones here.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
I have to change the audio on the. It's not on the computer. It's on the.
Hello, Charles.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let's see.
Yeah.
Mic, audio. Here we go. Ahead. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Well, there's no echo now, that's for sure.
Okay, so you're coming. I'm talking over my headphones, and I'm hearing you over my speakers. So it's kind of an odd combination, but.
Yeah, you should be able to hear us in your headphone. That's the problem, though, is it's coming through. We're hearing ourselves. Actually, it stopped.
Yeah, I don't hear it doing it for us, but.
Yeah, I don't hear it anymore.
I can turn off my speakers, but I can't hear you in my headset.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Right now, it's not echoing, so we're okay.
Just hear it. I did just hear it a little bit.
Hello, Angel.
Very small, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it right now because I don't want to take any more time from the episode. So that's all very interesting. Now, the first thing you opened up with was the whole thing about helping a lady with the grays, and she was being bred by them.
She was used as a breeder for the grays. She came to me. She'd already gone to a famous hypnotist. I won't mention his name, but he's fairly famous as a hypnotist and as a an alien guy. So she had gone to him a couple times, and she knew about 24 of her abductions before she came to me. And she came to me for back pain and obesity. We worked for that on those issues for 2 days or 2 sessions, and then she actually released like 3,800 events with her parents in one session. And my teacher had trained me that you couldn't.
Say that again.
She released.
She released 300.
Okay, so the way I work is, or the way I used to work is, I take people down to where I can talk to their subconscious mind, and I get the people to talk with their fingers, pointing finger. The yes finger is the pointing finger, and the no finger is the little finger. And they don't talk with their voice; they just talk with their fingers, yes and no, and this and that. And at some point, I get them to use their voice. But in any case, she would, in the first session, what I do is I regress them back. It's a regression release technique. I regress them back to the first event that caused the problem, and I get their subconscious mind, who I'm talking to directly, to release all of its attachments to the problems she's trying to get rid of. Release its attachments to the first event, all subsequent events, and I get a number. I'll say, is it more than 100 events or more than 50 or whatever? And it turned out she had over 3,800 different abusive experiences with her parents that were causing her back pain and obesity. And and in the releasing of that, with her subconscious mind releasing its attachments to that many events in one session, I'd never seen that before or since, and I was very skeptical. So in the second session, I didn't believe it. I've had clients that were saying they're releasing and they're not doing anything because I'm dealing with attaching spirits and they're not cooperating at all. They're pretending to cooperate. So that's what I expected was happening with her, that she didn't actually release all that stuff. So in the second session, first thing I asked her subconscious mind is, did you release those 3,800 and something events in the first session? And it said yes. And I said, are there any other events that caused either back pain or obesity? And it said yes. And I said, how many? And we came up with 72. And we didn't really get into what they were during that second session verbally. So she knew. I told her subconscious mind to tell her what the 72 events were, and then she told me after I brought her out of trance. Okay, and she said the 72 other events were encounters with the Greys. There was 24. It's 48 abductions, 72 encounters. So it was 24 implantations, 24 checkups, and 24 removals. Now the implantations and the removals were abductions. The checkups were just visits. Those were not abductions. So even though it was 72 encounters, there was only 48 abductions. Okay. And they were still abducting her as I'm having sessions with her. And
wow.
So anyway, she was being used to breed 55. She came up with 55 offspring that she had that were with the Greys. And so in my book, there's a lot of information there about the Greys through, I have the pertinent part of the 3 sessions or 4 sessions I had with her, and it's all in the book. I haven't published it. It hasn't been published yet, but it's all in
Right.
there. So.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I have people that have said to me they've been abducted and they have been experimented on and stuff like that, but that just sounds like overwhelming amount right there. 55, that's a lot. I mean,
well, I thought it was a huge amount too, or unusual, but as far as numbers of offspring and abductions and all that stuff, but I had a book. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I had a book that had it was in there. It showed a number of women. I don't remember how many, but 5 or 6. It mentioned a few of them that were had similar numbers of offspring and abductions. So I thought it was unusual too, but apparently it's not as unusual as you might believe.
wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
But I went to a MUFON meeting one time and nobody showed up except one lady and me, and she brought her husband and brought her kid. So there was the 3 of them and me, and the husband and the kid were not interested in aliens or UFO stuff. So it was at a library. So they went into the library and looked around at books and stuff. And I got to sit and talk with the one lady, and there was nobody else around. And it turned out the lady was an abductee.
Wow.
And it was the best MUFON meeting I'd ever gone to. Nobody showed up. And so
that's
anyway,
crazy.
we got into this conversation about the Greys, and she said that they told her that one day they will replace us, and she said it wouldn't be in our lifetimes, it wouldn't be in our children's lifetimes, it might not even be in our children's lifetimes. It's going to be way down in the future, but eventually they will supplant mankind with a hybrid, but it won't be while we're around. So it'll be in the far future, according to her. I mean, if she's correct,
Wow. Wow, that's just crazy. I mean, I've got a friend, her name is Cookie, and she recalls being abducted at least 5 times.
Where does she live?
In Rochester, New York. And she said that she claims that they don't do the whole experiments anymore. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they do. I mean, I don't know how many times more that she's been abducted, but from what I understand, and from one of other interviews that we've had over the years, that once you're on their radar, they continue on. They don't stop. In fact, they may even go to your children or your children's children.
Well, I've heard rumors about, they stop after you get old because you're no longer fertile. Because if they're breeding, you're not going to be able to
do much. And I don't know how female parts work when women get older. Can they still, they're not still producing eggs, right? After a
Yeah,
certain
they're not.
age.
No.
Okay, so they couldn't use a woman's eggs after a certain age to breed with because she's no longer producing eggs.
Right.
So the age thing would be if they were just getting genetic material from her, then they could go on for as long as she's alive. But if they're going for breeding, then it was no reason to continue. So it all depends. You made it
There
back.
you go.
What
Oh,
happened, Psychic Cindy?
I don't know. She got booted, and there she is.
I got booted and I could not get back on. It literally was saying that the site was unreachable.
Yeah, so she had to reboot. I told her to reboot and come back. So, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Where would you like to go with this now? I mean, I haven't done a proper introduction. I could tell you all the many things I've done, or have you seen my bio, or have you seen my website? What
Well,
all?
actually, I was going to ask you, what is your website so I can put it up here for the people that are watching and listening?
It's profoundstates.com.
Profound
Excuse me.
States.com. Just the way it sounds, right? Profoundstates.com.
Yeah, there's no www, and it's all there.
All right. So let's see. So if you check right there on the screen, you can see it. So is that right?
That is correct.
Cool. So you guys can go on over there and check out Mike's website, profoundstates.com. That's cool to have because I wasn't sure, where that was.
Did I miss the story about the woman?
Yes, you did. So now you have to go back and listen. Watch your own show later.
Right.
Hello, Wyatt. Hello, Kevin. That's over on my watch party.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah, I'm Bill Davis. Yep.
Hi, Diane.
So you worked Sorry, Cindy.
Go ahead.
So you worked as a stuntman, a martial artist, and a videographer as well. So I mean, not at the same time, I'm guessing, but so you were a stuntman for movies,
Well, sort of. Yes, I did at the same time. Okay, so
okay.
I was. I've been a computer geek. My customers include the CIA, the FBI, Library of Congress, NATO, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Fortune 50, 100, and 500. And when I was young and in the IT world, a lot of those contracts are very short. And so in between contracts, I worked in the movie industry and the video industry. And so those kind of all overlap in some fashion or another. I did stunts. I did camera work in the video industry. I did camera work for stuntmen. I carried bags around for stuntmen. I was the right hand of the right hand. David Stutter Sanders was the head of the Houston Stuntmen's Association. His right hand was David Carlos, and he came into my fabric. I used to work for a fabric company. He walked in there one day. He was getting some fabric for his mother, who did mini blinds and draperies and stuff. And he walked in there, and I told him I was a photographer. He told me he was a stunt man. And they needed a portfolio so they could move up in the stunt business. And so I was the team photographer, and I did stunts for over a decade in the movie industry. So, but I never went to Hollywood like he did, and so I did some acting, but I never said a word in the movies. I just did facial expressions and stuff like that. So.
Oh, cool.
But I worked in the war room. You remember General Petraeus?
Yes.
Okay,
think
so
so.
I
Sounds
was in the
familiar.
war room when he got his morning briefing through that war room, and you had live
Wow,
drone
that's
feed.
crazy.
You had live drone feed. You had 20 or 30 live drone feeds through Raytheon servers behind me, and you had 100-foot projections of live drone feed up on a wall that were in the room, and you had about almost a dozen generals in that room. The general that
Wow.
ran the Afghan conflict, the highest ranking general below Petraeus, was in that room, General Rodriguez, and about 10 other generals were in that room. And
That's amazing.
Anyway, that was in
Wow.
Kabul, Afghanistan.
Oh, that
So
was.
Wow.
I've driven
That's
across
crazy.
I've driven across Afghanistan without a gun, without any armor, and without any security or protection more than once in a little RAV4
That sounds
Toyota.
terrifying.
Yeah, it does actually.
It
Well,
sounds
you
terrifying to me.
keep the pedal to the metal
Yeah.
until a crowd shows up right in the middle of the road, and then you jam on your brakes and you try not to run over anybody, and you go through the crowd really, really,
Right.
really slow and hope somebody doesn't pull out an AK and shoot you. And, that sort of
Right.
thing.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow, that's
That's
crazy.
terrifying.
Yeah, it does. It sounds terrifying to me.
Yes, it
But
does.
so that's cool. You've managed all that. I mean, you yourself said that you've had situations with UFOs or abduction, correct?
I've never been abducted. I'm a contactee. I've had 3 close encounters with ships and 2 close encounters with aliens that were closer than ships. So,
Wow. So you've actually seen an alien in
no,
person?
not in the way that you would think.
Okay.
So my first close encounter with a ship was on October 3rd, 1980. I was I just come home from a party, and I was sitting in my mother's driveway, inclined driveway, in my brown Pontiac Le Mans with my windows rolled down, and I was below the state of depression. And if I told you the story, it would take me quite a while to go through it. But basically, I saw the craft that I would see when I got out of the car in the middle of my head before I got out of the car. It was a ring of light, 8 equidistant lights around a black hole, and it came on and went off. The visual image in my head came on and went off within like a quarter of a second, just enough to see movement. And it did that 3 or 4 times, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And eventually, I actually got into a conversation. I said, I was thinking about committing suicide at the time, and I was really wanting to leave the planet. So I think that's why they came, because they knew I was ready to leave the planet. But I wasn't thinking about aliens. And so eventually I got out of the car and I turned to face the south towards the rear of the car, and I looked up. What I saw in my head was up in the sky. And it's a very long story, but basically, it's everybody wants to hear about the aliens, but they're not really that important.
Really?
They're the disincarnates are the things that are important. I was outside a MUFON meeting after it was over in Austin, Texas one day, sunny day, and this girl had walked out of the meeting with me, and I was talking to her next to my truck, and she said to me, aliens control this planet, right? I said, no, that's not true. Disincarnates control the planet. And she goes, no, aliens control the planet. I said, no, disincarnates control the planet. We went back and forth
Okay,
like that, like little kids for a minute or 2 or 3 minutes. And finally I said, okay, you win. Aliens control the planet. I guess who controls aliens? Disincarnates. So they're still in control.
So can you explain what a disincarnate is?
Yeah, it's called an attaching spirit. Are you guys on my website?
Actually,
No,
no.
not while I'm on the show. No.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were on the website, on the top right-hand corner, just below my name, you'd see the name of my book. And the book's title is Instruments of Control: How Attaching Spirits Cause War, Terrorism, Crime, Racism, Murder, Insanity, Mental Illness, Molestation, Marital Discord, Suicide, and many other illnesses, and are leading humanity to its fourth impending fall. So that's the title of my book. It's kind of long, but
it's
Wow.
long.
That's very long. So that would be like a subtitle.
yeah, it's the title and the subtitle. Title is Instruments of Control. So the instruments of control are your attaching spirits. So I guess I should get right into that, because that's really the main topic, what I tend to talk about. So I have two attaching spirits of my own. Okay. I have one that sits in my head and one that sits in my back. They are demonic in nature. And
I'm going to interrupt you and ask you, how do you know they're demonic?
well, I'm about to get into that. So
Okay.
actually, the less questions you ask, the faster we will go.
Okay.
I'm gonna jump into a Lamborghini. I'm gonna step on the gas, and we're gonna go really fast. Okay, so I used to go to y'all remember who Robert Monroe was?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so he had the hemispheric synchronization tapes, right? And when those first came out, they were called I forgot what they were called, but anyway, I would go over to this one girl's house, and we would lay around in different areas. I'd be on a couch, and another person would be on another item, and there might be a guy on the floor. We'd all have like a headset on, listening to Robert Monroe's tapes, and we were trying to get out of our bodies. It was like an out-of-body party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so after the party was over one day, everybody had left, and I was talking to this girl, and she was sitting on the opposite side of a card table with me. She had some tarot cards. She did a tarot card reading for me, and this and that. And she looked over at me and she said, you have an imp jumping around on the top of your head. You know what an imp is, right?
That's a little nasty little creature.
Yeah, if you look it up, wiki, it either says it's a demon or an earth spirit.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, at the time, it was jumping around on the top of my head, which it doesn't normally do. I've never had it jump around the top of my head before or since that evening. And so she was describing it accurately. She didn't really give me much more of a description other than calling it an imp and describing of what it was doing. She didn't really describe it in any more detail than that. She was one of the first people to see one of my attaching spirits. So
Interesting.
another case, that was in I think that was in Portland, Oregon. Now in the same city, they have a jail in the downtown area. It's called the Justice Center. And I was in that jail as an inmate, and because of some issues with my wife, and I had a cellmate. His name was Jason, and he was sitting on the lower bunk, and I was sitting on the floor of the concrete floor of the cell room, the cell. And I was doing at that time I was into Kriya Yoga. And in Kriya Yoga, you're running your consciousness through your chakras. Concentrate on each chakra and moving through them, going around your body, trying to get your chi to flow. And I was doing that, and when you do it, you bow forward. You're in a semi-lotus position. You bow forward, then you go side to side, and you come up, and this and that. And while you're moving your awareness through your chakras. And when I finished with the yoga, I opened my eyes. I was finished. I looked over at Jason, and he said, "You know, you have a demon sticking its tail in your back, don't you?" It was a question and a statement at the same time. And I moved my awareness to my back. Now, when the girl had told me about the one on my head, I already knew about that one before she told me. And but when he told me, when Jason told me about the one on my back, I wasn't aware of the one on my back. I'd felt a lot of sharp back pain, but wasn't aware that it was an attaching spirit. So when he told me that, I moved my awareness to the area in my back where it was causing sharp back pain, and I could feel the energy of the spirit surrounding the sharp back pain. So I knew from picking up the awareness of that energetic signature around the sharp back pain that I knew that he was correct when he described the attaching spirit. So another example is at one time I was working at Wilford Hall, which is the U.S. Air Force's largest medical facility, or it was at one time. It's on Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, and I had lunch with a very technical person. And when we were having lunch, we walked up to the table at the same time. He's approaching from the other side, and we're approaching each other. And we walk up and shake each other's hands, and then we sit down and have lunch and talk about, all kinds of things. Come to find out, this guy's father was an exorcist when he was a kid, and he helped his father hold people down who were possessed and help his father exorcise them. And he said, one of the things he said to me when he was sitting there eating with me, he said, I knew you had, when I told him about my attaching spirits, he said, yeah, when I shook your hand, I knew you had some kind of issue when he shook my hand. So that's three people that gave me, one person, the girl saw the one on my head, the cellmate saw the one on my back, and the technical person saw or knew that I had some kind of issues like that. So those are three examples of answering your question, how I know I have attaching spirits and what they are. So I've had probably about half a dozen times where I've been in situations where I could see other people, the symptoms they had, which gave me an understanding that they had attaching spirits. And all this occurred. Okay, so I have to back up a second. Have y'all interviewed people that have done ayahuasca?
Actually, I think we have, right?
Yes, I have. I have friends that have done it though too.
Okay, so I went to Iquitos, Peru, the sort of the epicenter, the world epicenter of ayahuasca, and I went about 6 miles outside the city into the jungle to a retreat and did the ayahuasca, and then I went to another. I think I did it twice at that facility, and I did it, and then I left there, and I was intending to go back home because it scared the you know what out of me, and but I ended up going to another retreat and doing it a third time. So I did the ayahuasca 3 times in the course of about 19 days. And what happened was I was over in Afghanistan, and I got terminated, and because of office politics, and when I left that contract, I had less than 285 days on the contract, so I wasn't going to get the tax break, so I needed to go back out of the country for 16 days to fulfill the tax break rules where you have to be out of the country for 285 days of the year to get the tax break. So in order to do that, I went to Peru for 19 days to fulfill that 16-day requirement to get the tax break. So while I was in Peru, in order to get the tax break, I did the ayahuasca, and um, and um, so anyway, that opened me up to seeing things that people don't normally see as a psychic. I was like a super psychic for about 2 years, and I could see. It was like the worst 2 years of my life. So I'll go through a few of those things. All kinds of weird things happened to me when during those 2 years while I was opened up. Like, I'll give you an example, one or two examples. I'd be in bed, half asleep, and I had two dogs at the time, and they would sleep in the bed with us, right? So there'd be my wife and myself and our two dogs in the bed, and we're half asleep, and all of a sudden you'd hear an explosion in the living room. It sounded like somebody set off a hand grenade. There was no shock wave, but it was very loud. The dogs would jump up and start barking their heads off. And basically what happens is when you do the ayahuasca, it basically for me, it destroyed some of the barriers that were further out. So when you smoke cigarettes, when you smoke pot, like I did, when you drink alcohol, there's all kinds of ways you can basically make Swiss cheese out of your aura that's directly around your body. That's how you get attaching spirits. They come through after you screw up your aura. Now, when you do the psychedelics, sometimes it will start. It'll lower the barriers that are further out from your body. They're like further out than the room you're in. So, and anyway, let me just go through these experiences so you'll have an idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because we're getting questions and stuff too, so we want to be able to come back to them.
When I came back from Peru, I was in Afghanistan, then I went to Peru, and then I came home, right? So when I came back from there, being psychically open, I was in Manassas, Virginia at the time, right?
Mm.
And so I'm standing outside in the sunshine in this courtyard of this apartment complex, and there's a little girl, and she's like maybe 6 or 5 or 4 years of age. She's very young, and she's holding a leash from a little boxer or pit bull puppy. The puppy's angry at me. He's trying to attack me, right? And she's holding him back, and she's like barely able to hold on to this puppy. And he's just a puppy, but she's just a 4 or 5, 6-year-old girl, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I could see her eyes were moving around really fast in her head, and I knew that I'm looking at her astral body or causal body or etheric body or one of her other bodies. I don't think her physical eyes were actually doing that, but that's what I was seeing. And so I knew from seeing her eyes move around in her head like that she had an attaching spirit. And so within that same courtyard, or might have been a different courtyard in the same complex, there was a lady living there that had lupus, and an older lady, and she was standing about 6 foot from me. And this is the only time I've ever seen an actual attaching spirit. It is in broad daylight. She's standing there, right? I could almost reach out and touch her. If I reached out like this, she'd be about 3 foot beyond my reach, right? And off the back of her head, straight out of her head, came this attaching spirit. Came up off the top of her head, and it came at me really quick. And it looked like you would describe like the old. Do you remember the old comic genies where it looked like a really muscular male figure? It
Right.
looked like that. It looked like that, except it wasn't. I was seeing it with my mind's eye psychically. If there was a person next to me who was not open psychically, they might not have seen this thing because it was just barely there. It was very much there for me, but it wasn't physically there. It was just a psychic image, and it came at me really quick, and it scared the you know what out of me. I almost
The
fell
Jesus
down.
out of you.
Well, I was going to say something else, but I started backing up and I stepped back and I almost fell down because I was trying to back up so quick, and it disappeared about as quick as it came at me. And so that was the end of that one. That's the only time I've ever actually seen an attaching spirit directly. So it was a time where I was walking on the street, and when
Cindy,
I was getting basically I was getting attacked spiritually for 2 or 3 days, really bad, and so I actually left my wife. I just put a bunch of stuff in my pockets and left. I wasn't intending to come back because I was just under such oppression at the time that I was actually going to actually leave permanently, like walk the earth like Kwai Chang, something, you know. So I left that apartment, and I just started walking random direction, and I got so far, and I sat down, I thought about it, and I realized I really couldn't leave my wife, so I returned back. But I was walking for 6 hours. Okay, so during that time, when I was coming back on the 3 hours walking back, or I don't know if I was walking for 6 hours. I actually sat there for almost an hour, so I was probably walking for about 5 hours. And so when I was coming back from that walk, I was looking around, and everybody on the street, every single person, their eyes are moving around their head really fast, just like the little girl. And everybody, I mean, every single person, without exception. There was people walking on the street that it was doing that. People in the cars, their eyes were doing that. It was like everybody, 100%. Okay, and then the other time, last time I tell you about is I was in a courthouse and getting ready to go see a judge, and because of some issues with me and my wife, and I'm sitting in the corridor outside the courtroom. And they had these wood benches that were attached to the wood walls. These wooden benches, and I was sitting in the bench, and I was looking around at the people, and about 1/3 or 1/4 to 1/3 of the people, their eyes were moving around really fast in their head, and the other people, their eyes were normal. And I knew intuitively that the people whose eyes were moving around really fast, that they were the ones that were going to see the judge, that had either committed a crime or accused of committing a crime. And the other people were their family, friends that were there to support them. And so those are
Wow.
4 events where I've seen other people's attaching spirits.
Wow.
Or symptoms of attaching spirits.
Right. Well, that seems like I mean, now you were seeing all this with your mind's eye, right? You weren't actually seeing these with your physical eyes.
No, I was seeing it all with my physical eye. The only one of those that I saw with my mind's eye was the lady
Well, okay.
with the lupus that had where I saw the attaching spirit. That was with my mind's eye. Well, but I was also seeing it with my physical eye too. I wasn't seeing it like my eyes weren't closed. You know, I've had it where I was listening to hemispheric synchronization stuff, and I got my eyes closed, and I start being able to see the room I'm in, and I start to get up and start walking across the room, and I realize my head has got headphones on. I'm hooked to a recorder or a player that's sitting on the couch, and I think I'm awake with my eyes open and my eyes are closed. So in that case, I really am seeing with my mind's eye. And so
Wow.
I I had one time where I got out of my body. I got halfway out of my body. I was laying on my bed. I was laying on my back, and I was in an altered state. I was gone. I was like asleep or whatever. And in my mind, I could see the room like I was awake, and I thought I was still awake, right? So I sit
Mm-hmm.
up off the bed. And when I get about a third of the way up, I can't move forward anymore. I'm stuck, and I'm like, it kind of freaks me out. I start screaming, and I realize that I'm half that after I wake up and I realize that I was really in some other realm, and I was getting out of my body, but I couldn't quite get all the way out, and so it's kind of scared me.
Wow.
So I've had several cases where I was laying down and relaxing, had my eyes closed, and I would go into a dream state, like like you snap your fingers. 1 second you're awake, next second you're in a dream world, and you've never gotten sleepy. You didn't go through the hypnagogic or hypnopompic states, get tired and you go down, you fall asleep slowly, right? I never went through any of that. It's like I went instantly from being awake to instantly in a dream world, and you're like,
Wow.
and you think you're still awake, right? You get up off the bed, and you go over to turn on the light, and it's pitch black in the room, and you go to turn on the light, and the light won't turn on. You're like, the heck is going on? The light won't turn on, and you're still asleep. And you think you're awake, right?
Wow.
I've had that. I've had it where I went into a dream state like instantly several times, and that's real scary too.
Why do you think that, like, it seems like we've gone through a lot? I mean, you're talking about, seeing a lot of these spirit attachments and stuff. Why do you think you're the one to see them?
Well, the way I was able to see them when during that 2 years was after I did the ayahuasca. It opened me up, made me
Oh,
psychic.
okay.
That's how I was able to see them. But um, I guess I should tell you next how I got my attachments. I think I told you that I got them from smoking pot, right?
You mentioned something like that, but we have to take a short commercial break real quick, and then we'll come back. And I got to try and get Cindy back on. She got booted again. So we're going to take a small commercial break, guys. We'll be right back with Mike Beaver. Don't go anywhere. And then we'll finish this up, and you guys will be able to ask your questions. All right. We'll be right back.
2021 just got better. Your favorite shows from WLFE DB Radio can now be found on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Yes, we now video stream to both of those platforms. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, ParaTalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE DB radio shows. This award-winning thriller has it all. Murder, political intrigue, mob revenge, and a bit of romance. Not to mention strong female and male characters with a storyline that could be tomorrow's headline news. Now for a quick peek into our story. To help solving a nationwide plot involving the assassination of several U.S. senators, the O'Rourke team is called in. To complicate matters, they now have to work against the clock to rescue one of their own. You see, the mob didn't take too kindly to the O'Rourke team's involvement last spring. It seems to have led to the indictment of their boss. Will they succeed? You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
Hello, Cindy. You keep getting booted, huh?
I just have to say, what is going on right now? This does not happen.
I know. This has never happened. This is a first.
This is super weird.
Mhm.
So not only that, like I was trying to comment in here on my brand new phone. It's a month old. My computer is new too.
Huh.
I want to know what is going on that I really feel like I'm being interrupted here. Like with spirit. Like I know that probably sounds weird to a lot of people, but
Oh, well, it's like I was saying, there's
yes,
just
I can hear you, Chanel. I saw it, Chanel. I just couldn't respond because Mike was talking. So
it
hey
just seems
Eric,
like
how are you? Hey Mikey.
Oh, there is Eric. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I went over to the website and I checked out some of his stuff there, and
Yeah, Chanel was too, and it looked. She said that the
there's a
article on
lot.
China and aliens is pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in
read
there,
that.
and I definitely want to get into, asking him that question as well. So, it's very, very interesting stuff. So,
Mikey just said phone troubles too, huh? Having the same thing. Well, it wasn't like a normal phone issue. As I was trying to comment, it looked like the face was shaking. I don't know. It was jumping. Like as I'm trying to make a comment and write and then post it, it literally is jumping. My computer now has gone out twice, and this just does not happen to me. It just doesn't happen. This is not normal. There's something going on here. Like it's either somebody is trying to interrupt what Mike is trying to say to me because I can glean some information, which the interesting thing is something Mike had said, like really like, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, I need to, Michelle, did you just send me a friend request? Because I thought we were already friends, but I just want to make sure it's you. But anyway, yeah, it's just weird. So either spirit is trying to keep me, like something's going on that they don't want me to be here, or there's something else at play that doesn't want what Mike has to say for me to know and understand it. So something's going on. Something is afoot. And I'm about to beat some spirit.
Well, I just think Mike has been going on with everything that he's experienced and gone through, and it's like
I'm gonna have my dragon come.
It's almost like what he's telling us at some point, like if you're going to talk about the spirit part of it, it's like maybe they don't want you to hear some of it, or maybe they're trying to get your attention or something.
Well, listen, what I'm saying to you, I've already said to Teddy. Teddy knows exactly that I've already said this. I said that maybe something's going on and spirit doesn't want me to know something, or spirit's trying to keep me from something. However, I don't know what it is, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's actually something that Mike has to say that will be like, ding, ding, ding. I understand this now, like why this is happening and what's going on.
Right.
Well, I believe that most people have two or more attaching spirits. So
But I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke pot. I've never done ayahuasca or any drug that I have smoked. I have smoked pot before.
I didn't hear that, Cindy. Say it much louder. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't.
I know.
Well, I stayed high morning and night for 18 years. And if y'all want to know how
I don't like the feeling.
If you want to know how I know that that's how I got my attachments, I'll tell you how I figured that out. Y'all ready? Or you want me to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my wife and I were living in Oregon, and I was looking for a way to remove my attaching spirits, and so I had one of those penny papers that cost you like 5 cents, or the paper's free, but the advertisement in it is real cheap. And so there was a advertisement that caught my eye about healing, and I called this lady and set an appointment to go visit her and her husband. And they lived in South Oregon. My wife and I went from Portland down to Southern Oregon and went to their place, and we walked into this lady's double wide. Her and her husband are sitting there on the couch. She points her finger at me and says, "You're healed." And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm not thinking very kindly to her when she does that, And so I don't say anything. I'm not rude to her. I just was thinking, that she was an idiot, but I didn't say anything.
I love it.
You're an idiot.
I kept it quiet, so I was smart. So anyway, my wife and I hung around there for a few hours, and then we left towards the end of the day and went home. And she called me like 3 or 4, 6 weeks later, and she said she had talked to her psychic buddy about my issue, and her psychic said to her, or she asked her psychic friend, told her about me, and said, how did he get his attachments? And her psychic told her it was through smoking. And so she called me up. Her psychic didn't tell her smoking what. She just said smoking. She left off the word pot, right? And so she called me and said, my psychic friend said you got your problem from smoking, but I never saw you smoke. Do you smoke? And she's thinking cigarettes, right? And I'm like, I've smoked 2 cigarettes in my whole life. One was on a movie set, pretending to be as an extra in a movie. And the other one, I smoked like 2 cigarettes in my whole life. Yeah, I stayed high morning, noon, and night for 18 years, from the age of 16 to the age of 34. So yes, I smoked. So her psychic friend told her how I got my attaching spirits. So that's how I know that they came from smoking pot. So anyway, I could go on and on. There's many stories about many things I could talk about. So you just have to decide what you want me to talk about. If you still want me to stay on the same subject.
I think for me, I mean, a couple things that you've said, so far in the interview is that a lot of the stuff that you've been that you like, the attaching spirits that you have, it's been somebody else telling you that you have them, right?
Okay, hang on a second. Okay, this is exactly where we were before. Mike was talking about attaching spirits. Did you guys freaking freeze on me again?
No.
We're not frozen.
You did on my end. You did on my end, though. But this is exactly what Mike was talking about before. The exact same thing he was talking about, which is smoking pot and getting attachments. And I had a thought in my head about somebody I know, and all of this started again.
Really?
But you didn't get kicked. We can still see you.
Yet.
Right. But it started. My whole thought process was doing the same exact thing, which is based on what you were saying. And then I started thinking and going, that's really interesting. I wonder if this person is having the same issue that Mike was having. And I wonder if it's because of that. And all of a sudden, it started acting up again for me, and you guys started freezing again.
So it's like a confirmation for you.
It is absolutely a fucking confirmation for me.
Yeah.
So you guys are recording this, right?
Oh yeah, that's recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, that's live and recorded. So, well, anyways, I wanted to get back to what my thought is because, I understand where people say, I've gone into
Bazinga.
I've gone to a psychic before, and she said that I've had things attached to me, or this was going to happen, or that's going to happen. And for me, I'm just like, I live a fairly strange life, I guess, but
Strange life.
it's strange. I don't know. It's not out of the ordinary. I've taken care of my parents. I run a radio show. I work a normal job. I mean, my luck is not bad. I mean, I've been fairly healthy all the time. I haven't had a lot of negative things happen to me. But I've never in my lifetime, to the best of my knowledge, I've never had an attachment. And for me, thinking that I would have to have an attachment might just open up the doorway, so I don't.
Well,
And I would never say to anybody, "Hey, you have an attachment," and I certainly wouldn't believe anybody that told me either. Not one person, at least.
Well, okay, so let's go back to the
I
first
had
lady.
somebody tell me that I had an attachment.
Go ahead.
I had somebody tell me that before.
Yeah, but both you and I use a lot of sage. We use a lot of meditation. We use a lot of, different prayers and stuff like that. I mean, we keep ourselves
Eric
fairly
took
clean.
care of that hive. Yeah.
So, we know what we're doing.
If I
mean,
I can't perceive it, then I won't know it's there, right?
right. So, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I just don't take things that, people say too literal sometimes.
When the first lady told me about the one on my head, I already knew about that one long before she mentioned it. So I didn't. A lot of people, when I tell them these stories, they think because somebody said you have this, that therefore I believe what they said. Well, that's not the way any of it worked. That the one that sits in my head, I knew long before that girl ever told me that. She was just confirming what I already knew.
Yeah.
Okay. And the one about my back, that one I already knew from the sharp back pain. I'd had the sharp back pain long before he ever told me that. The only thing that was lacking was I'd never really examined through my awareness the energy around the sharp back pain. That was the only new part of that.
So, like putting the 2 + 2 together to make
yeah,
to figure
well,
out what
it
the
was
issue is.
okay. So, symptoms of attaching spirits are very similar to normal symptoms, but they're different. Okay, so let's go over that since this
I
is
would love that. Thank you.
Okay, so if you have headaches, okay, headache is an energetic phenomena, right? It's always an energetic phenomenon. Okay, regardless of what reason you got it or how you got it, it's an energy phenomena. Okay, everything is energy, right? So if you have a headache that's like all over your head, everywhere, that's a normal headache. If you have an attaching spirit headache, it's usually more localized. So in my case, if I have a pain on my head, a headache pain that's caused by my attaching spirit, all I have to do is stick my hand on that spot, and guess what? Headache goes away. As soon as I take my hand off, headache comes back. I put my hand on that spot, it goes away. Take it off, it
Wow.
comes back. Okay. What's happening is I'm blocking the attaching spirit is connecting to my body in that one spot. They usually sit, the most common place for an attaching spirit that sits on your head to sit is where your cowlick is. It's where your back of the head merges with the top of your head, that edge, that one spot where the cowlick is at. Okay, so there's a book, there's a guy, his name was George Anderson, I think is his name. He wrote a book called Return from Tomorrow. You can go and read it. It's a he had like a Scrooge type story that he tells, where this being of light came to him and took him into the past, the present, and the future. And the only part of the book that has any reference to what we're doing is they go into the spirit, this being of light takes him into this bar, and he's looking at the people drinking the alcohol, and he notices they have attachments on the back of their heads, right? And what he notices is somebody's drinking and drinking so much that they pass out and they fall down, and then a spirit goes and jumps into that person, right? Okay, what this is these are humans that are now ghosts, they're dead, and they liked alcohol when they were alive, and they still want to get drunk after they're dead. So they go into bars and they attach themselves to on that same spot where my demon, one that sits in my head, likes to sit in that one spot. And it's kind of more confirmation, except that's with ghosts, not demons.
Right.
But there are many people who do attachment removals. So you can read, there's tons of books written by people who remove attaching spirits. Shakuntala Modi's book is just one of them. But there are people who've removed spirits remotely who they say in their book, they've been doing it for 10, 20 years. They've never come across a demon. It's all humans, right? So you got people on both ends of the spectrum. Somebody like Shakuntala, it's all demons. And you got other people saying it's all humans. And then you got in the middle, there's all different other kinds of attachments that are not neither demon nor human. There's all kinds of other spirits that attach. And I've never said that everybody has them. What I say is that I believe that most people have two or more, but it's not all at the same time. It's like a third had it in the past, a third have it in the present, a third have it in the future. 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 is 3/3. 3 goes in 3 one time. That's 100%. It's just not all at the same time.
Right.
Now,
Right.
But anyway,
that's interesting. I mean, I have never been, and I'm going to use the word blessed with migraines or anything like that. I get sinus infections, so I get pain because of sinus infections. I don't get normal headaches. I don't get anything like that.
Let's go there. Let's go there.
Yeah, please.
I was listening to a lady on the radio being interviewed. She owned a haunted house, right? And as soon as she told these people, she was being interviewed, right? As soon as she told these people she owned a haunted house, they said, "Do you have sinus issues?" She goes, "No." But then she goes, "Oh, but I actually don't live in my haunted house. I travel." So the host tells her, if you lived in your haunted house, you'd have sinus problems.
Wait, why?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Because spirits cause sinus issues.
Holy shitballs! Are you kidding me?
Okay, but that's not the only that's not the only reason for sinus issues. There's two major issues for sinus issues. Two major causes for sinus issues. One is attaching spirits. The other one is mold. 1/2 of all buildings in the United States are mold infested. 50%. That includes new buildings that you think are brand new, office buildings stuff. You go in, you think there's no mold in here. Well, the half of those are mold infested too. So,
hey, Kenny Biddle.
But what's that?
Oh, I just was saying hi to one of our people.
Okay, so let's go back to the symptoms thing. Okay, so if you have a back pain, right? Remember I said I had a sharp back pain that I had it for a long time before I realized it was an attaching spirit. Well, if you have a sharp back pain that's a normal back pain, that's a slip disc, a torn muscle, a compressed something. It's a physical issue. It does not move. It stays in one spot. Okay. It's not going to go anywhere. If you have an attaching spirit that's causing sharp back pain, it's going to move around. It's not going to stay in one spot. So that's a difference. You talk to somebody that have sharp back pain. Say, is it stay in one spot? Okay, that's normal back pain. Does it move around? Yes, it moves around. That's an attaching spirit. Difference. The symptoms are different from a normal back pain and attaching spirit caused back pain, headache, normal headache, attaching spirit caused headache. The symptoms are different between the two.
Now, how do we prove this? That's my question. How do we fix it? How do we prove it to fix it?
How do we get rid of it?
Okay, so
shop back. Shop back.
Okay, good.
All right, so let's go back to another experience I had. So have you ever heard of a town called Skycomish or Snohomish or?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so if you look up on the map, a map of Washington State, you'll find a town called Snohomish. Okay, you won't find anything referenced on the map to Skycomish. It's very close to Snohomish, but it's not even found on maps. It's so small. It's a ghost town, and there's a story about my experience there on my website. If you go look, if you see there's tabs at the top. Those are major topics. You'll see over 100 words on the left side. Those are subtopics. If you go down the left side and click on the word ghost, you'll see the story that I'm going to tell you. Okay, so it's not the story about my ghost hunt. I went on a ghost hunt to Skycomish, Washington, a ghost town. Okay, and there's no lights in this town. It's like dark, like if there's no moon out, you'll walk into a ditch and like hurt yourself because it's so dark. The moon,
Wow.
the starlight will not light up enough. But if you got night vision goggles, you can walk around with those in the night and you'll be fine. Okay, so anyway, we went to Skycomish, met up for this ghost hunt, and I'm following behind this lady who's got. Are you familiar with a zero lux camera? Do you know what that is?
A zero light. That would mean zero light necessary camera.
It's night vision. It's
right.
It's infrared.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Back in the day, 1 week before I went on this ghost hunt, Sony came out with the first zero lux camera, infrared camera, night vision camera. Okay. And this girl that was walking around with me, this paranormal investigator, she investigated UFO, aliens, and paranormal. She had a Sony Zero Lux camera in her hand. She's filming, and we're walking around, and I'm like walking into ditches and stuff and can't see squat. So this girl lets me borrow her dad's 3rd generation night vision goggles to help me out. And anyway, we're walking around, and I'm the only guy in the whole crowd. There's like 20 of us, and they're all women. And I'm the one male in the whole crowd, right? And all these women are all psychic, and they're going, there's one, there's one, and there's one. And they're talking about all these orbs that are flying around, ghosts, ex-humans, right? And so I can't see squat because I'm not that psychic normally, right? And so at one point, this orb flies over her and my head and flies down in front of us, and it gets in front of the camera, and the camera starts picking it up, and it's flying in a figure 8 formation, right? Like, figure 8, like turning 8 sideways. It's flying in that formation in front of the camera. Bugs don't fly like that. Bugs do not fly like that. Okay.
No, they don't.
And so I knew it was a ghost that she was recording, right? And so she sends me a copy of this VHS tape after this weekend's over. She's a very nice girl. I don't know why she sent me this tape. Anyway, she sent me a copy, and it showed orbs flying past the camera, a whole bunch of them. And I was working at Microsoft at the time, so I started talking about ghosts up there, and they didn't believe me. So I went home, grabbed my VHS tape, and brought it to Microsoft, and went upstairs, and they had this large, like a 55-inch TV, when 55-inch TVs were like 20 grand, right? When they first came out. Okay, they had one sitting there when they first came out with the VHS tape player. I stuck it in the tape, turned the tape player on, stuck the tape in, turned the TV on, and played them the tape, right? And I'd fast forward and rewound through this tape many times, and I would always go to that one spot where it recorded the orb flying in a figure 8 formation. And I'd seen that on the tape many times, right? So I stuck the tape in, and I'm fast forwarding looking for this spot. Guess what? Spot's no longer there on the tape. Gone.
That's
never been edited off the tape. Nobody's ever touched that tape. But that one moment was taken off the tape, disappeared from the tape without anybody ever touching the tape or editing it in any way. It's no longer on the tape. So that's common. If you are a paranormal investigator and you record in magnetic media, not digital media, it's very common for whatever you record just to disappear. So that's another way I knew that it was not, that it was actually a ghost because, or paranormal, because it just disappeared off the tape. All the rest of them where they just go flying by and they would go, oh, those are just bugs. I'm like, no, they're not bugs. You wouldn't see a bug at night like that. You wouldn't see it. It wouldn't light up like that. And but that one piece just disappeared. So anyway, that's another example of something paranormal I've seen. So anyway, I could keep going. When I was in Peru doing the ayahuasca, to touch on the alien stuff for a second. One night when we weren't doing the ayahuasca, we were standing behind the Amoco, which is a big thatched hut, right? And we're standing underneath the overhang, and I couldn't see the stars, so I stepped out away from the house to look up at the stars, just so I could, check them out, because I don't get a chance to stargaze that often. And so me and 2 or 3 other guys are standing around in a circle, just talking. And one of the people was actually an American. These are all Americans. They were not Peruvians. And this is outside of Iquitos, Peru. And
of course, because the Peruvians already have the ayahuasca. It's the Americans that want it.
Right. So anyway, we're standing there, and this other American, he looks up and he notices this UFO in the sky. Excuse me. And all it was a gray dot that was about 1/4 the size of your thumb. It was much bigger than a star, but it was so small you could barely even see it. But it was very noticeable, but only if you really looked carefully, right? And so I said, I wish we had some goggles, to look at this thing. And there was a kid standing there. Well, I call a kid. He was like 18 to 22, 23. And he goes, there's some goggles inside the Amoco. And I said, oh yeah, I remember seeing those. You know where they're at? And he said, yeah. I said, can you go get them? He goes, sure. And he goes in, he grabs them, brings them out, and he tries to look at this thing, and he can't see it because he's got glasses on, and prescription glasses. And so he hands me the goggles, and I look up at it, and through the goggles, it looks like a black surface with like 20 or 30 lights on the surface. And I can't see where the surface ends and the sky begins. But these lights, one of the lights, some of the lights are going off and coming on, and they're, turning off and on independently of each other, but they're all on a surface. And anyway, to make a long story short, this thing was static in one position for like 2 or 3 hours. And it moved with, if you know anything about stars, they rotate around the Earth slowly at night. And so it stayed in that same position relative to the stars as they rotated behind the house. And I watched it from that side until it disappeared. I watched it from the side, and then I watched it from the back for like 3 hours until it went behind the trees, and it got to a point where I couldn't see it anymore. But the interesting part, another interesting part about the story was, the next day I'm sitting in a lawn chair outside the back of this same building, talking to the one of the owners of the retreat, and he's sitting there to my left, and his wife is sitting to my right. She's Peruvian, doesn't speak English, and his son are sitting directly across from me. He's also Peruvian, doesn't speak English. And I tell the owner about what I just told you, right, in more detail. and then he translates that to English and tells his wife. And his wife replies to him in Spanish that the assistant to one of the cooks on the same night, previous night, saw a disc-shaped alien UFO alien craft over the same facility on the same night that I'm just telling you about.
Hmm.
So it's two different craft seen over the same facility at the same night, on the same night, by two different people, not connected to each other.
Right.
That's interesting.
We've heard like plenty of stories from different places, like Skywalker Ranch and stuff like that, where they have claimed UFOs, cryptids, Bigfoots, aliens, werewolves, and stuff. And it seems like, yeah, it seems like there's a lot of different. Like we have a couple friends actually that do within ufology that do like Tim Conwell and his dad. Tom, who, and then the people we have in MUFON where they discuss seeing the UFOs in different areas, but yet in the same, like say it was a big field in Florida at a certain location, you would be able to see different style UFOs show up at different times. And I guess they have an interest in that area. So it must be the same as what you're talking about. It just must be an area in which they have an interest. So that's why they're there.
Well, yeah, that's begs the question why.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's just interesting on how, the stories all have a similarity to it, I guess is what I'm coming to. And select people see these things. Like, I mean, if you talk to like we're celebrating 5 years, so we've been on here for a long time, and we have talked to a lot of different ufologists as well as people that have experienced UFO phenomenon, and they all seem to have slight versions, but yet things that intertwine that are the same within their stories. So for me, I mean, I love listening to UFO stories, whether it's experience or so on and so forth, because there's got to be something that links them all in some way, shape, or form. I mean,
the lady I worked with who was used as a breeder, she said that that they looked at the grays that were taking her, looked at us like cattle. And,
really?
Yeah, I believe that. Yes, absolutely. I understand that too from my regressions that I've done.
So are you a contactee also?
So I can remember having experiences with alien things. My daughter had contact with alien things, and I can remember being paralyzed purposefully, and sleep paralysis, as we like to call it, right? And I forbid them to take my daughter anymore or myself. But I do believe that. So there is other people in my family that have been abducted. And I know that because I did a regression, and they only wanted to go a certain amount. They didn't want to go past they didn't want to go beyond a certain, they just wanted to know whether or not they were abducted. And it wasn't just her, it was her fiance at the time. They didn't want to know if they had what had been done to them. She didn't want to know anything like that. And she, as soon as she got to that point of knowing that she was abducted, she brought herself out of it, which, as a hypnotherapist, you make sure that they know that they have full, capacity. And at any time, if they feel uncomfortable, they can come back to this space in reality and nothing will be of harm to them. That their faculties are still okay.
How long has it been since your last recalled encounter?
Oh my gosh. So I don't know, but there's been some weird things that have happened recently.
How recently?
Things within the last year.
And so your encounters are with the Greys, or who are they with? Do you know?
Well, because I do the work that I do, because I'm a psychic medium, I have been in contact. I don't know what they're really called, but I have contact with the blue ones. I have contact with Ra. I have contact with others, and I know of the Greys. The Greys are not. I don't want to have contact with the Greys because I don't like them per se.
But who's taking you that you forbid? Was that Greys or who was it?
It was Greys.
Okay, so how many times have you been regressed yourself?
I haven't regressed myself in regard to.
I mean, how many times have you been regressed? How many times?
Oh, I do it to myself. I've done it to myself several times. I've taken myself. My specialty is past life regressions. However, I've also done this life regression on myself as well. And I wasn't the one who had done this lifetime. I tried going back to a past lifetime, but I couldn't. I had too many issues in this lifetime.
Well, okay. So where do you live?
Upstate New York, outside of Rochester.
And you have or have not been regressed by somebody else?
No, I haven't.
And that's because you don't want to know, or because you just haven't done it?
I know I've had contact with them. I just don't really care to know what.
I don't want to know the details?
I don't think so.
I want to know how you know, like, I just from somebody that, to the best of his
I can remember dreams, Teddy. I can remember dreams. I can remember standing. I can remember having dreams of being in a house that I shouldn't be in. I can remember being with Jessica and watching the ship being there. Oh. It's just certain things that I know that I shouldn't know.
So you don't know anything about implants, or you haven't got any conscious recall or anything. It's all in dreams?
Yes.
So what gives you the idea that it's anything more than just dreams?
Because I don't just dream. I'm not just a dreamer.
There's a song in there somewhere.
So
daydream believer, I'm not
sorry.
Homecoming queen.
So,
is that the one you were talking about?
What do you what do you have around you that you've experienced that is more than just a dream, that you know that for sure it's real, that it's not just dreams?
What do you mean? I dream. I have prophetic dreams. I'm on the astral a lot. I have dreams that.
So are your abductions astral abductions, or the physical abductions?
They could be astral, to be honest.
Okay, so you don't have any implants that you know of?
I don't know that.
Okay, you've never had anybody check you out for implants?
Never. I've thought about it, but I haven't. No.
So how do you know that you're even in contact with the Greys, other than you had some dreams with the Greys?
I just know.
Okay, so okay, I understand that. So there's a lot of things that I know too, that I know for sure they're true.
This is making me very uncomfortable because I don't talk about it. Teddy and I have had some conversations, but I do not talk about this because I have Kenny Biddle in here right now. Kenny Biddle.
That's what you're afraid of, is Kenny Biddle?
it's not just Kenny Biddle, because
I get it.
And this is the thing: is my psychic medium work is really what I do. That's
what you live
what I do.
That's.
and it's making me very uncomfortable to talk about this. I have certain things that I can communicate with other races. It's literally making my anxiety talking about the grays right now. It's really making my anxiety like heightened.
So do you feel like bartering?
Bartering?
No.
Oh, you mean like trading services?
Trading.
Yeah, I will regress you and you give me psychic readings.
I could do that. Absolutely.
We can do it over Skype.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Skype.
I do my readings that way. Yeah.
You got Skype, right?
I haven't tried any regression work over Skype or StreamYard or anything yet.
I haven't either, but I've been told by people who do it all the time that way that it's no different. That
Wow.
So I'm just normally used to doing it in person, only because I like to watch the physical
Me too.
aspect
Same
of
here.
them while
I can't
they're
afford to come to
in
New York,
regression.
and you can't afford to come to Atlanta.
Right?
Am I right or wrong?
Kenny Biddle, shut your pie hole.
Well, guys, unfortunately, we're almost out of time.
Yes, I
So-
would though, Mike. So stay when it's time to leave. You just stay there, and
she'll
Teddy
talk
will
to you
take us to the
backstage.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she'll
so
take
we'll
you
talk backstage. Just stay on here when.
All right.
All right.
we're-
Well, Mike, I do want to say thank you for joining us here tonight. Interesting, very interesting. A lot to think about.
I agree.
And, I'm glad we finally got you got your microphone and everything figured out as well. I mean, that was that was
between
hell in the
his issues
beginning,
and
but
then my issues.
yeah.
Well, in the
Yeah,
future, if
definitely
there's
some-
bandwidth issues, just tell everybody reboots and gets back together. And
There you go. The only one that didn't have to reboot was me, but that's okay. I'm good with that. So, guys, don't forget that we really do enjoy you guys coming on here with ParaTalk Radio and hanging out with us, and asking our guests questions and everything else that comes along with this little show of ours. Believe it or not, Cindy, we normally have been doing 90 minutes. Today, we actually went 2 hours, which is a lot of fun when the topic is great. Ufology is always, I still love you, Kenny. But yeah,
who's Kenny?
Kenny Biddle, he's in the chat room.
Oh,
He's
one of our friends.
he's a friend. Yep. So I just want to tell you guys that
But he's our skeptic. He's our skeptic.
yes, there he goes. Real Talk with Dom starts now. Basically, he's right up after us, and so we got to get out of here.
Right
And just so everybody knows that next Monday we have Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files joining us here from the TV show The Holzer Files. So make sure you tune in next Monday. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here. Cindy, you know what time it is. Wherever there's darkness, there is always light. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye, guys. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to ParaTalk Radio with Ted Wolf and Psychic Cindy. Catch us next Monday for another fantastic guest. Please check out our show as well as others on the WLFE DB Radio Network. And remember, like, follow, and share with everyone.
Join us at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more.